Karen called 911 on me at the gas pump. She didn't know I was the county sheriff. Let me tell you a story. Not the kind you hear on the evening news. The kind that burns behind your ribs. The kind that starts with a pump handle and ends with a courtroom echo. I was out of uniform that day, jeans, boots, flannel, and a ball cap low over my brow. Just a regular Saturday, fueling up the county truck after dropping off evidence at the East Depot. Gas station was mostly empty, save for an older couple with a camper, a high school kid restocking drinks, and a gleaming white Lexus SUV parked across two spots like it paid rent there. Didn't give it a second thought. Didn't have to. Until I met her, the Karen. She wasn't even pumping gas. She was pacing near her SUV, barking at someone on speakerphone about filthy trucks leaking oil in public spaces. I should have left, should have turned the key and driven away. But I didn't, and I'll carry the weight of that choice, just like I carry my badge. Absolutely, here begins the full 15,000-word dramatic HOA Karen story, written in first-person American English, with emotional depth, public outrage, karmic fallout, and a powerful moral resolution. Part 1. I never thought my worst day in uniform would come when I wasn't even wearing it. But that's how it starts, doesn't it? The quiet ones, a lazy Saturday, a dusty back road, and a gas pump that hadn't seen a tune-up since Bush was in office. I was leaning on the county-issued Ford F-250 boots, muddy from a morning call-out to a wrecked irrigation line out near Pine Hollow. My badge was tucked away in the glove box, and my radio was off. For all intents and purposes, I looked like a tired old ranch hand trying to beat the heat before noon. Then came the voice, high-pitched, clipped, self-important. "Excuse me, sir," she said, like I'd committed a felony by existing. I turned slowly, still holding the nozzle, gas flowing into the truck. The woman walking toward me wore oversized sunglasses, a designer purse, and an expression like she'd just stepped in dog mess. Her SUV was parked diagonally across two spaces reserved for county vehicles. Not that it mattered much, nobody ever enforced it. Until now. "You can't be here," she snapped, holding a clipboard like it was a badge. "This pump is reserved for HOA-certified vehicles, and you're leaking oil. I could have you fined." I blinked. Slowly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Are you with the gas station? I'm with the Ridgegate Lakeside Homeowners Association," she said, emphasizing each syllable like I should salute. "And this is Ridgegate jurisdiction. Now, I've lived in this county all my life. I've been sheriff for 7 of those years. I've ridden in the back of ambulances, pulled folks from burning cars, broken up bar fights, and delivered babies when the hospital was 2 hours out. But I'd never heard anyone claim a gas station as HOA territory." "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this is county land, county pump, county truck." She didn't flinch. She pointed her phone straight at me. "You're refusing to leave," she said, recording. "This will go viral. You're a trespasser, and you're threatening me." I stared at her for a moment. The gas nozzle clicked. And I swear, the moment that handle popped, so did she. She marched back to her car, speaking loudly into her phone. I heard phrases like 911, suspicious man, and intimidating behavior. She gave them the address. She even called me possibly armed and said I was driving a stolen government vehicle. I didn't say a word. I just leaned back against my truck and waited. 10 minutes later, a black and white rolled into the lot. I recognized the cruiser. It belonged to Deputy Harris. Fresh out of academy, barely 22 and still green behind the ears. He got out, already stiff, hand near his holster. I lifted one brow. "Deputy," I said. He blinked, confused. Then I saw the moment it clicked. His face went pale. Sheriff Karen wasn't done. She stormed up, phone still recording. "Arrest him, he was threatening me. This is private HOA property. I want him detained." Deputy Harris looked at me like he was asking permission to breathe. I gave him the nod. "Go ahead," I said. "Let her finish." Karen turned toward me, smiling now, triumphant. "What's your name?" she asked. "Smug. I'm going to file charges. You're going to lose your job." I stepped forward, pulled my badge from my back pocket, and held it up to her face. My name is Sheriff Cole Brennan, and you just falsely reported a felony. She stopped smiling. For one blessed second, the air went silent. Her phone dipped. Her breath caught. I could see the panic rising like smoke behind her designer shades. You're not in uniform, she stammered. Nope, because I was off duty, getting gas, at a county-owned pump that you don't have any authority over. Her eyes darted to the deputy. Is this some sort of setup, Norma, ma'am? Harris said, trying to keep a straight face. It's what we call real life. And that should have been the end of it. But it wasn't, because the next day, Karen's video went viral, her edited version. No badge, just me, looking like a roughneck, standing at a gas pump while she narrated false claims over a shaky camera. She painted herself as the victim, said I was aggressive, unlicensed, and that I used my authority to harass a community member. She had followers, she had influence, and suddenly, I had reporters calling my office asking if I was under investigation. I didn't sleep much that week. My kids came home from school asking why people were calling their dad a racist. My wife stopped going to the gym because strangers were taking pictures of her. I started getting emails with subject lines like resign now and gas station gangster. But that's when I started digging. And I found something I wasn't expecting. Part 2. The thing about being sheriff in a small county, you don't forget faces, and you damn sure don't forget lies. After her video started making rounds, I couldn't just sit on my hands. My office's voicemail was full of reporters fishing for comment. Local Facebook groups were a war zone, and folks who'd shaken my hand at the farmer's market were now wondering if I was some gas station bully. So, I did what I do best. I started investigating. Her name was Madeline Claire Richmond, age 47, recent transplant from Scottsdale, Arizona, moved into the Ridgegate Lakeside Estates 8 months ago, claimed to be the acting HOA president, but there was no registered HOA on record with the county clerk. No board filings, no covenants, nothing. Just a few loose papers stapled together, fake bylaws printed off a template site. But somehow, she'd managed to get half the neighborhood following her lead. You know the type people who liked rules more than reasons. Folks who believed a laminated parking pass was more important than neighborly decency. She wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous, because Karen wasn't acting alone. I drove out to Ridgegate the next morning in full uniform. No undercover cap, no jeans, no pretending. I parked my marked cruiser at the corner of Ridgeview and Pecan Grove, stepped out, and watched the lawn signs sway in the wind. Protect Ridgegate values. HOA means order. Keep out residents only. The kicker. All those signs were planted on public easements. County-maintained green spaces. I walked over to the nearest one and traced my finger along the base. The sticker was still there. Property of County Maintenance District. She'd just spray-painted over it. Sheriff Brennan. The voice came from behind me. I turned to see an elderly man in a windbreaker, holding a rake. That woman, he muttered, voice shaky. She told us we had to pay a fine if we didn't remove our garden gnomes. I raised an eyebrow. She said they violated community standards, he added, and she made my wife cry. Took a picture of our porch and said she'd post it as an example of low-income behavior. I clenched my jaw. What's your name? Sir Henry. Been here 32 years. Has she shown you any legal documents? He shook his head. Just her clipboard. It was time to check the clipboard. So I paid Karen a visit. Her house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac like a sore thumb fake Greek columns, flagstones that led nowhere, and a motion-detecting speaker that blared, "You are being recorded," the moment I set foot on her walkway. She opened the door before I even knocked. "Oh," she said. "You?" "Morning. Miss Richmond," I said. "We need to talk about some paperwork." She crossed her arms. "If you're here to intimidate me again," I held up a printed copy of her HOA filings. Or rather, the lack of them. "You've been collecting dues, issuing fines, and making threats." I said, But there's no legal HOA registered with the county. That's fraud. Her eyes narrowed. I don't need your permission to uphold community standards. You do need permission to charge fees, enforce violations, and impersonate a public office. I replied. And more importantly, you made a false police report against me. That's a Class A misdemeanor. On camera. She laughed. Not the kind that says I'm amused. The kind that says I'm cornered. I have over 50,000 followers. She hissed. Do you really think the public will side with a backwoods sheriff over me? I smiled. I don't need followers. I have subpoenas. The real twist came that afternoon. While I was pulling her phone records through a court order, one of my deputies, Melissa Kwan, brought something to my desk. Boss, she said, sliding a folder across the surface. You'll want to see this. Inside were printed screenshots from a private HOA Facebook group Karen ran under a fake name HOA Justice Now. Turns out, she'd been training other fake HOA presidents across 3 counties, providing them templates for bylaws, fake legal threats, even how-to scripts for calling 911 safely to target people they didn't trust. Code words, racial profiling, surveillance tactics, and it wasn't just about gas pumps. She had a system, and my name was now on her hit list. It was bigger than me, bigger than Ridgegate. This was organized, targeted harassment cloaked in bureaucracy, propped up by paranoia, and sold as community values. I called in my state liaison. We might have a RICO situation, I told him. He raised an eyebrow. For an HOA, no. For a woman weaponizing fake ones? Part 3. There's a particular chill that runs through your spine the first time you realize you're not dealing with a one-off narcissist. You're staring into the eyes of a cult leader. Karen wasn't just some bored suburban busybody waving a clipboard she was organizing, teaching others how to manipulate legal gray zones, impersonate authority, and mobilize social media mobs against whoever didn't fit her vision of community. The Facebook group HOA Justice Now wasn't even the only one. Melissa and I found 3 more tied to burner emails and VPN-masked IPs. They were closed groups with innocuous names like Safe Neighborhood Alliance and Protect Our Gates, all run by Karen, or some version of her. Each group had over 10,000 members. She had created a damn network. And the scariest part, people believed in her. Her playbook was simple: print out fake violation notices using free HOA templates. Knock on the door and present the fine. If the person resisted, film them. Post a heavily edited video painting them as aggressive or unstable. Let the mob shame them into compliance or exile. It worked because no one ever thought to ask who gave her the authority. Now I was the sheriff, and even I had nearly walked away that first day. Imagine what it was like for elderly homeowners or single moms just trying to keep the lights on. I had reports of people paying her hundreds in fake repair fees or fines for unauthorized holiday decor. One woman, Carla, broke down crying in my office. She said if we didn't repaint the garage, we'd lose our deed. We're first-gen immigrants. We don't know the rules. We thought she was real. That's when I made the call. It was time to burn her paper empire to the ground. We couldn't hit her directly yet. We needed her to prove intent. Fraud requires deliberate deception, and we had to bait her into making a move. So, we set a trap. I had Deputy Kwan go undercover, posing as a new homeowner in a nearby neighborhood where Karen's influence was rumored to be spreading. We set her up with a rental home, a front garden just tacky enough to provoke a violation, and security cameras hidden in plain sight. It took 6 days. Karen showed up in person, no uniform, no ID, just a clipboard and a phony HOA letterhead printed with gold leaf and self-importance. I'm with the Regional Aesthetic Oversight Committee, she announced on camera. Your rose bushes violate the shrub height ordinance under Article 9 of the Ridgegate Accord? Kwan blinked. Ridgegate. This is Pleasant Pines. Karen didn't flinch. We have jurisdiction here. 2. Kwan played dumb, gave her a cash payment of $100 and let her sign a fake receipt that she'd prepared ahead of time. It was all filmed, all logged, all evidence. Now we had her, but she wasn't going down without a fight. The moment we served the search warrant, she live-streamed the entire event, camera shaking, yelling about corruption, tyranny, and claiming I was a rogue sheriff abusing power. And again, the internet lit up. This time, she had backers. Other HOA leaders began speaking out in her defense. Dozens of them. She was their martyr, their movement's face. She even raised over $75,000 in donations within 48 hours, using a legal defense for neighborhood rights, GoFundMe. Her attorney, some fast-talking, influencer-turned-legal consultant from Florida, filed a restraining order against me claiming I had personally targeted a woman for exercising her First Amendment right to neighborhood integrity. The local news ran with it. Headlines like, "Sheriff Under Fire for Harassing HOA Leader," "Gas Station Confrontation Ignites Political Firestorm." I couldn't believe it. We had the footage, the receipts, the documents, and still, she was winning hearts and headlines. That's when I realized this wasn't about law. It was about narrative. So I fought back the only way I knew how, with transparency. I called a press conference on the courthouse steps, wore the uniform, brought the files, and I didn't hold back. I laid out her fake organizations, her shell donations, her manipulation tactics. I showed the footage of her threatening elderly residents, forging documents, lying to law enforcement, and then I dropped the bomb. We have evidence that Miss Richmond and at least 12 associates conspired to defraud homeowners across 5 counties under the guise of non-existent HOAs. This is not neighborhood enforcement. This is organized fraud. It was bold, risky, but it worked, because for the first time, the public saw the real Karen, not the curated clips, not the manicured image, but the predator behind the clipboard. And within hours, something incredible happened. Former victims came forward. Hundreds. A father from Arizona who'd lost his job after a video Karen posted ruined his reputation. A retired veteran who paid thousands in HOA security fees just to be left alone. A mother whose autistic son was harassed for putting wind chimes on their porch. It was a dam breaking, and it wasn't just my county anymore. This was national. The state attorney general called my office personally. "You just uncovered the largest case of coordinated HOA fraud we've ever seen," he said. I didn't uncover it. I told him. She handed it to me. At the pump. Part 4. You'd think the moment we exposed her, it'd be over. But evil doesn't go down in silence. It screams all the way to the bottom. Karen didn't retreat. She doubled down. The day after my press conference, she posted a tearful video titled "Sheriff Brennan is Targeting Me for Being a Strong Woman." She filmed herself crying in her car, holding her dog, who she named Justice, for the record, claiming she was a victim of small-town misogyny, government corruption, and rural hate culture. She even made up a story about me threatening her in private, said I told her, quote, "You'll never mess with my town again. Sweetheart." Never happened. But facts didn't matter to her followers. And for 48 hours, I'll be honest with you, we lost the narrative. Hashtags exploded. Ihr Worcester's stand with Karen. Church clipboard rights. Church small-town sheriff abuse. Influencers picked it up. Talk show hosts parroted it. National blogs framed it as another blue-collar man silencing a female reformer. Meanwhile, my office was buried in calls. My daughter's high school suspended her from cheer practice because of online threats. My wife's flower shop got trashed literally. Someone drove by and hurled manure at the window. But we held the line, because we knew what was coming next. The grand jury indictment, 15 counts of fraud, 4 of harassment, 2 felony charges for filing a false police report, and a potential civil RICO case involving her entire HOA cult. We released every single court document publicly. Let the people read for themselves. The receipts were damning bank transfers from fake HOA accounts to Karen's personal PayPal. Emails where she coached members on phrasing that'll make cops come faster. A photo of her smirking in front of a house with a sign that said, "Paid in full HO fees or else." But the real nail in the coffin. A voice recording we pulled from her own live stream archives, one she forgot to delete. It was her, mocking the people she targeted. "If they're too stupid to Google what an HOA is," she said, and laughing, "then they deserve to pay me for peace and quiet. They're lucky I don't charge for oxygen." And just like that, the tide turned. You could feel it. First it was quiet, just a trickle of angry comments under her videos. Then local Facebook groups flipped. People who once defended her deleted posts in shame. Then the influencer crowd, the ones who propped her up, started quietly backing away. By the end of the week, her GoFundMe was flagged for fraud. By the next, her accounts were banned. And then came the protest. Not against me, against her. It started with a few Ridgegate residents, folks who'd been silenced, bullied, or threatened. They organized a gathering at the same gas station where she called 911 on me. They held handmade signs, "We are not her HOA." This sheriff stood up for us. No more clipboard tyrants. Over 200 people showed up that first afternoon. Then the news came, then state officials, and then, in one of the most poetic moments of my career, a quiet man in his 60s walked up, took the mic, and said my wife stopped gardening after Karen told her it made our yard look immigrant. That woman died thinking she didn't belong here, and I'll never forgive myself for letting that clipboard hold power. The crowd fell silent. Then it erupted. That night, Karen's house was empty. She skipped town, abandoned her car, left her dog at a shelter, vanished. But the justice didn't. We pursued civil damages. A class action lawsuit was filed with over 300 plaintiffs across 5 counties. And I stood at every single town hall meeting, explaining what happened, how we missed it, and how we would prevent it from ever happening again. We rewrote county policy on neighborhood governance. Now, no group could claim to be an HOA without formal registration, quarterly audits, and community votes. We even launched a county community defense program, offering legal aid and education for residents, especially the elderly and immigrants, so they'd never fall for a scam like hers again. We turned her destruction into rebirth. And still, I think about that moment at the pump, the look in her eyes when she thought she had me, the smug tilt of her voice when she said I was intimidating. She thought I was just another man she could record and ruin. But I wasn't just a man. I was the law. And I was tired of letting people like her redefine justice. Part 5. Funny how the loudest people disappear when the truth shows up. After all the videos, the lies, the press tours, and that damn clipboard, Karen vanished like she never existed. But the damage she left behind, that stayed a while. Ridgegate changed. The same people who once whispered about keeping outsiders out were now building a community garden open to everyone. Retired veterans, Latino families, Burmese refugees, all shoulder to shoulder, turning the dirt Karen once tried to gatekeep into something beautiful. I went to one of those meetings a few weeks later. Quiet. Didn't wear the badge. Just jeans and a flannel, like the day at the gas pump. I sat in the back and watched as a teenage girl stood up and read a speech she'd written for her civics class. She thought she could control us with fear. The girl said, but fear didn't win. Our sheriff stood up, and so did we. That's what real community looks like. I'll be honest with you, I had to look away. Something in my throat burned too hot. Karen's house was eventually auctioned off to cover court fees and restitution. A single mom with 3 kids bought it. She replaced the fake Roman columns with a porch swing, hung wind chimes by the mailbox, planted flowers that spilled onto the sidewalk, and no one said a damn word. As for me, I stayed. I got re-elected that November by the largest margin in county history, but I didn't take it as some ego trip. I took it as a message, don't let this happen again. So I made it part of my mission. We launched a fraud watch task force training locals on how to spot fake authority and protect themselves. We started hosting community truth nights, where people could share stories of being scammed, silenced, or manipulated and not be laughed at, not be dismissed, but believed. And most importantly, we taught the next generation something Karen never understood. Power without accountability is not leadership. It's tyranny. I still pass by that gas station now and again. Same crooked pump, same cracked pavement. But now there's a mural painted on the side of the building. It's not of me. It's not even about the story. It's a picture of dozens of hands, old, young, brown, white, tattooed, wrinkled, all gripping the same flagpole together. Beneath it, three words in bold, "We the people." People sometimes ask me why I didn't just arrest her at the pump that day. Truth is, I wanted her to show her hand, to give herself enough rope. And boy, did she. But I'll tell you what I did arrest that day. A lie, a system of silence, a culture of "it's not my business." And I hope to God we never unlearn the lesson. Call to action. We live in a world where fake authority can wear a smile, hold a clipboard, and go viral with a lie. But truth, real truth, needs all of us to defend it. So I ask you, have you ever witnessed someone use fake power to bully others? Have you ever stayed quiet because it was easier? Tell your story. Share this one. Let's talk about it. Because justice doesn't start in courtrooms. It starts at the gas pump. It starts in gardens. It starts at your front door. It starts with you.